always tell young sportscasters, because I go speak to colleges, I'm meeting a kid tomorrow, I always tell them the same thing. In 2019, you don't have to be controversial. Tell the truth. It's controversial. Nobody wants to hear the truth. Everybody's PC. Even the guys I compete against all over the country at this job, it's Captain Safe Take. Just follow, go to Twitter, and say obvious stuff, and don't ruffle any feathers. And 9 years ago, I was critical of Aaron Rodgers. He was the golden child in the NFL. You couldn't touch him. I got massive blowback. I remember one time I didn't get blowback. I had Peter King on. I said, Peter, I'm watching his body language. I'm hearing things from former players. And Peter King's really connected. I'm like, the guy's a diva. He's part of the underachieving problem here. And Peter's well-sourced, and Peter's like, I'm not hearing it. And I know I don't have as good a sources as Peter King, because he literally, that's all he does. And I remember getting off the air that day and thinking, am I missing something? I'm watching him. I'm hearing him. But I always trust my eyes, and I always trust my sources. And I stayed on him. And it's so amazing because the last 6 months, it's all coming out. It's all coming out. No more denial. No more, you're a hater. Take your cheese head off. It's the reality. That article yesterday, I thought it overwhelmingly clobbered Mike McCarthy because it unveiled new information on Mike McCarthy. It was a very well-done article, very well-sourced. A lot of quotes. Not all anonymous. Aaron Rodgers, I mostly knew it, so it didn't strike me as new information. This is what I felt about Aaron for years. He's aloof. He's not a great leader. He needs to grow up. He's overly petty. But there is a moment in this article, because this story broke 10 minutes before our show yesterday, so I consumed the article speed reading, and I missed one nugget of this article, and I think it's incredibly damning for Aaron Rodgers. Tyler Dunn reports that Mark Murphy, who's the CEO of the Packers, he's a Harvard guy. Mark's played for the Redskins for years. Mark Murphy's, super smart guy. Really, really one of the smarter guys that runs any team in the NFL. That he called Aaron Rodgers after they hired Matt LaFleur. And he said, don't be the problem. And he repeated it to Aaron Rodgers. Don't be the problem. Murphy, it says, is tired of the diva stuff relating to Rodgers. Folks, his own family's taking shots at him. Grow up. Own it. Young sportscasters, trust your eyes and trust your sources. Don't back down. I was right on Tebow. That's not a starting quarterback. And Aaron Rodgers, I've never been more right in anything. When I read that yesterday, after I got off the show, don't be the problem. Oh, okay. Okay. By the way, the article continues. Here's an important non-development regarding the 12 hours or so since the report. The Packers have said nothing at all in response to various claims and contentions that cast Aaron in a not-so-favorable light. They're worn out by him. Worn out by him. The story continues, says Ryan Grant, former Packer. Aaron's always had a chip on his shoulder with Mike. This is incredible. Since 2005, 14 years, because Aaron was mad that Mike passed on him when he was with the Niners. They took Alex Smith, and Aaron's from NoCal. You're still holding that grudge? I mean, what? So you can't deny it anymore. You can't deny it. Put the cheesehead down for 5 minutes. Be a grown-up. Okay, put the pom-poms down. And do a better job if you live in Green Bay of actually reporting on a team and not supporting it. Not rooting, but reporting. This stuff, you can't deny it anymore. You can't. Listen, one of the greatest attributes of Tom Brady, and for years and years, Brady and Aaron Rodgers were compared, and I always said they're not even the same personality. Aaron's much more Big Ben, much more passive-aggressive, much more heavy in a locker room. But one of the great qualities of Brady is that he makes really bad plays. He's had pick sixes in Super Bowls. Tom makes big mistakes. He doesn't have the arm strength or the ability to escape things. Tom's made massive miscues, big games, small games. And he's had fights with his coach. He's had yelling matches with his coordinators. But you know what Brady has the ability to do that Aaron doesn't? Get over it. quickly. It's called maturity. It's called being an adult, not holding grudges. That's what separates Brady from Rodgers. Leadership, not talent. Tom's thrown terrible pick sixes in Super Bowls. And the next drive, he's 8 for 8. He gets over stuff. He fought with Belichick. This year, got along great. He's had screaming matches with Josh McDaniels. I'm not saying a little bit of Aaron's chip on the shoulder is all bad. I like the chip. But it can't be a personal peeing match. Like, grow up. Get over it. I mean, 10-year grudges, that's just chain smoking hate. You got to move on. That's beating you up. It's not beating anybody else up. McCarthy's over it. You're not. And there's another quote from Bleacher Report from a former Packer scout that says, Aaron's become worn down and bitter about everybody's expectations and the type of leader he should be. He's Brett Favre 2.0. He used to say, I'll never be like that guy. He literally is. So I thought the report yesterday was just a bombshell on McCarthy, and I thought it told me mostly everything I knew about Aaron Rodgers. And I've been told, by the way, and trusted my sources and eyes for 10 years, family, teammates, they've said Greg Jennings is not a hater. He was totally validated in the article. But if this puppy was bad in 2005, I mean, that's on Aaron. Get over it. Move on. Mature. Lead. That's just not acceptable. That's just embarrassing. That's one of those things you wake up and read the article, and if you're the guy, you're like, man, I look like a kid. And you can't have a kid running a franchise. I'm over the is Tom Brady retiring stuff soon. There's two things I will not use as topics. Number one, can NBA teams flip a switch? 40 years watching. Answer's always yes. Number two is, when's Brady going to retire? Who gives a rip? Enjoy it? I don't have any insight on that. But this is interesting. Greg Bedard covers the Patriots for the Boston Sports Journal. And there are people in the latest story that have not ruled out the possibility of Tom playing one more year, winning it, and saying, sayonara, I'm out of here. But there's a wrinkle to this one that I'm just going to throw out. And I appreciate Greg doing this because it's real work and it's thoughtful. Let's say Tom plays this year and they win. And by the way, they're going to be better than last year. We know that with their draft picks. We know that with their roster. Belichick is telling people, I've told you this in the last couple of weeks, he really does feel like his roster is going to be younger, more athletic, more nimble, more dexterity, more flexibility next year. They kind of felt like this year was a regroup year. I mean, Gronk wasn't really available and crucial till late in the year. So this story goes on to say, listen, Belichick after this year, after this upcoming year, is going to have the most cap space he's ever had, $86 million. That's like New York Jets level. That's a ton of cap space. And there are going to be some free agents like an Edelman that you could move off of, a Kyle Van Noy, good players, but you're not going to re-sign them. And if Brady won again, there is this sense that if you're Belichick, said the story, and you want to walk away by setting up the next guy, this is the way to do it. You could handpick your quarterback, ton of cap space, very little dead weight to clean break, because the story also talks about the nuclear option, that if New England wins big this year and doesn't re-sign free agents, and either Tom walks away or they convince him, they can tank the season and get Trevor Lawrence from Clemson, who is, in my opinion, and my sources' opinions, the best quarterback to come out of college since Andrew Luck, and people, and I agree with this, think he's better than Andrew Luck. I do as a talent. I think he has a better arm than Andrew Luck. And you know how high I hold Andrew Luck. I think he's better than Andrew Luck. I do. I always said I love Sam Darnold. He's not Andrew Luck. Trevor Lawrence is all-time unique. I saw him a year and a half ago in high school at a camp in San Diego with the 11 best high school quarterbacks in the country. He was so much better than all of them, it wasn't close. He looked like a junior in college at 17 years old. Last year, he took apart Alabama. This kid is all-time special, and he's supposed to be a good kid. And with Dabo Swinney, he runs a real program, makes people accountable. He's a great kid. He would be the number one pick in the NFL draft this year as a freshman, without a doubt. That's not even arguable. He'd be the number one pick. He wouldn't have been the number one pick out of high school, but but he would have been a top 10 pick out of high school. That's how good he is. And I'm not joking here. So this story says Brady plays, Brady retires, $88 million in cap space, free agents you don't have to re-sign, clean break to Josh McDaniels, tank the season to get Trevor Lawrence as he comes out as a junior. It's interesting. The timing is perfect. You move away. You set it up for the longtime assistant, Josh McDaniel, who you're very close with. Brady gets his stuff. Josh gets his team. Belichick gets his legacy. And it would be the 20th year in Foxborough. A nice round number. And you could tank in New England. I mean, good God, the Sixers called it the process. It was bad for 6 years. They've bought so much equity with that fan base, you could easily sell them the plan. I think it's just interesting. I'm not saying it's right. I think it's interesting, and I appreciate the effort by the reporter that they put in for this. And as a long time New England supporter, I would fully back this plan.
I thought we weren't supposed to root for.
Not that I root. I'm just saying there are relationships I have that
I openly root for things, so I'm not judging.
You're openly petty, which I think is very big of you.
To admit that?
Yeah, you on the air, you often say you're very petty.
I'm a bit of a grudge holder, yeah.
No, it's okay. As long as you're not my quarterback, I'm okay with that. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.